Do you see something that's asking you recording?
Yes.
Okay, so all that practice last night worked. And I'm turning it over to Blanche at this point.
Oh, wow, that was fast. Hi, everybody. I've been asked to talk about, and don't be intimidated by the fact that I'm using notes. I'll take less time using notes than if I was winging it. What you see on your screen is right now when and where we think each and every forum will be if it occurs. We may or may not have all these forums, depending on how many people are approved to run. If there are not more people, and I will get to this, if there are not more people that are approved to run than seats, then that's an empty chair and we can't do it. I will explain that in a few minutes. So there are 3 dates for candidate forums. We hope to be able to use them. September 13th at the Cleveland Heights Community Center for the Board of Education. September 20th at the Cleveland Heights Community Center for the Cleveland Heights City Council. September 27th at the University Heights Library for the University Heights City Council. And October 4th at the University Heights Library for the city issues for University Heights. We have a date the next night for any ballot issues that may come in Cleveland Heights. My network seems to think there will not be any because we have not done a charter review, and the mayor actually doesn't see anything that I asked him that the city will need to put on the ballot. Forums will be from 6 to 8. We will want volunteers there 5:15 or 5:30, and they will all be recorded as they have been before. Anybody who knows anybody who wants to contribute to that, it costs money. So why do we do forums? We do forums to educate voters. What we strive to do in the league is to present a completely nonpartisan view of who is running to represent the people who are their voters. To that end, we are completely nonpartisan. We do not support or endorse any political policy or any candidate. We take no sides and we strive for fairness for all. That's why we can't have a forum that has what's called an empty chair. If everyone, if there are no more people running than there are people to be elected, then they will de facto be elected. They have no opposition. We do still publish a voter's guide, but we cannot do a forum if there are not 2 people running for 1 office or 5 people running for 4 offices, to put it real clearly. So, for example, it looks like neither of the judges is opposed, but we will want to develop and send them questions. We'll get to voters' guides later. Issue forums are different. The league often takes sides on issues. The issue forum may involve the league having a point of view or both sides being presented equally. And that has to be acknowledged at the beginning of the forum. If the league has a point of view, then we have to fund that forum differently. We have to fund it through our operating funds rather than our educational funds, because it's not partisan, but it's I'm sorry, I lost, because it's advocacy. I'm sorry. That's why we have notes. The important person, one of the most important people at each forum is the moderator. The league has a list of people who've been trained, and a lot of them are quite experienced in moderating. We're already starting to contact moderators for these 5 dates, and we have a couple people who are willing, and that's great. We will work on getting some more. The league is going to, at my instigation, clean up and make sure it is accurate, that is to say, the list of approved moderators. The moderator calibrates the flow of the event and establishes the tone. And I'm sure any and all of you who've been to forums have noticed how very important that is. The moderator is politically neutral, should exhibit fair play, tact, a gracious manner, quick decisions, and a reasonable sense of humor. That's a quote from the toolkit that you all received. The reason for the reasonable sense of humor, I think you've seen when one of our moderators has missed a whole section or a whole candidate. There has to be a level of taking that easy and making a joke about yourself and then being able to go on. There's a pretty clear script that they follow, and that's in the toolkit. By the way, in the toolkit you were sent, the candidates forms are described in detail on pages 11 to 28, and the issue forms are described in detail on pages 29 to 37. And at the back of the toolkit is an addendum that Betsy and I wrote 2 years ago that gives our experience using the toolkit, and it's sort of an addendum also. In an issue forum, the moderator, to get back to that, I'm sorry, I guess the notes weren't as good as I thought. Rather than having to introduce candidates and keep them in order and whatnot, the moderator describes the background and expertise of the panelists. So say you have a forum on a school levy, you will invariably have a group of people who want voters to vote for it, and a group who are against it. The moderator also reads the ballot issues and gives a brief overview of what they mean, hopefully in plain speak. Our friend Barbara Hawley and also Kathy Petrie have helped us out a lot by turning some of this lawyer stuff into plain speak, and we hope they will again this year. If there are not two sides, you can still have an issue forum. The panelists are then there to help the voters understand the need for the change that is being asked for on the ballot issues, such as I don't know if they passed it, but one of the things that University Heights Charter Review Commission suggested was rank issue voting. The panel would want to explain why rank order voting. The people on the panel would then want to explain why that will give a better election or a better council as an outcome, for example. So that's about all I have to say now. If you have any questions, put them in the chat and we will answer them at the end. And I apologize that my phone is ringing. Thank you very much for listening.
So I'm going to turn this over to Rose now, who's going to talk about how do we get candidates to these events and the rules that the candidates need to follow.
Okay, very good. And let's see if I can. I'm not going to be able to do anything here, am I? Okay, well, I did. I need. It's fine. I'll do it from memory. My notes are somewhere under the screen here. Anyway, basically, when one receives the list of which candidates have been validated, and we presently have 6 candidates for 3 seats for Cleveland Heights, which have been validated. So I will be able to write a letter of introduction to them. Now, in the past, I've used email, and I have a formal letter, which I can share examples of at a later time, and phone calls. So at the last forum, because we did it very, very quickly, that's an understatement, I telephoned people before I actually sent the letter, and we invited them. And then the letter came through so they could watch for it. The letter would be polite, tell them that we're happy for them to come, have the date, time, place, and then say that when they accept, there will be a follow-up letter with the rules. So the rules for the forum then, as are in the guide that you have received, the rules are presented to the candidates, and it is emphasized that any campaign literature material or even t-shirts, buttons, hats has to be outside of the forum room, even if it's their mother wearing the t-shirt. We had that. And then we follow up. Okay, letters. The rules for questions are you doing that, Betsy? Or, okay. The rules for questions are that we solicit questions first, and then we also set up question screeners and little note cards and runners for gathering questions. And the questions on the little note cards from the audience will first go to the question screeners. They're at a little table off to the side before they are presented to the moderator. But the moderator has some questions which the league committee has determined to be appropriate for the forum. And so the moderator has those questions to start with. Candidates are allowed 2 minutes, a 2-minute opening and a 2-minute close for their part of the forum. At the end of everything, when everything's cleaned up and that, I write a thank you note to the candidates in appreciation for their participation in the forum, and in a way that documents for them also that they did participate in such an event, which is important. Okay, Betsy, is that enough? As I said, I can't find my notes. What else?
Okay, these are the guidelines that we give the audience. But
right.
Yeah, not all the audience follows the guidelines. So this is what the question screeners do. And you might want to just highlight a few things here. Often the moderator, they look for duplication. So the moderator might say, oh, we got 5 questions about school lunches. But I'm going to read this one question so that people can know what were kind of the hot topics. Anything else that you see as important, Rose?
Well, and sometimes the screeners will sort of combine questions that are similar or on the same topic with addendums. It is important to say that we have no profane or offensive language, that this is a respectful event, no matter what positions are taken, to be respectful of people's opinions, etc. No, I think that's it. The moderator has complete discretion in directing questions, which is good. I think I covered screeners.
Rose, you did a great job.
Okay.
So this is where the teamwork comes in, and that's what I'll cover here. We use this kind of sheet to keep track of who are staffing the different forums. The moderator, there is league training to become a moderator. Both Blanche and I thought we would like to be a moderator, and then it is a particular skill set. You have to be kind of on your toes, but I think it's a good thing to aspire to, and there may be people that want to be a moderator and get some training in it. There are always door greeters. Sometimes you're in a place where people need to be directed to where they're going, or you're getting a handout. there's always one or two people that signs the candidates in. And once you sign the candidate in, then they draw lots to determine who gets to give their opening statement first. And whoever gives their opening statement first is then last when they do their closing statement. So it's very fair. And usually the moderators keep track of how they don't ask the first question all the time to the same person in order. The house managers are usually the main people who are running the forum or planning it. And then the question runners are the people that take the questions from the audience. You're not really running, you're walking the question back to the question screeners and then take those questions to the moderator. And so you're doing that throughout the whole forum, We haven't mentioned timers. Like Rose described the procedural rules. The candidates have some time limits. Sometimes we change those depending on how many candidates there are, but it would not be uncommon to have a 2-minute opening statement, and then for candidates to have 1 minute to respond to questions, or 1 minute to respond to questions that were asked of another candidate. And timers are people who sit there with a stopwatch or with their phone and literally time, and we have cards that you hold up that says you have 1 minute left, 30 seconds left, and there's the end. Candidates are always very good about stopping. You know, unlike you see on some debates on TV, our forums, the candidates stop talking as soon as that goes up. It's really nice. The literature table, that's a person who is sitting monitoring the literature table. You saw under the procedural rules that no voting material can be in the forum room. No signs, no t-shirts, no masks, no hats. All of that, including the literature that the candidates bring or that the issue people bring, goes in a literature table outside of the room. And that's where we also have our league material, including a donation box and information about league membership. Here are the question screeners. You should know that we always pair experienced question screeners with newer question screeners. So if question screening is something you would like to do, know that you're not going to be doing it all by yourself. The toolkit has several pages written about guidelines for question screeners. We just excerpted a little bit of them. We always have a photographer, and we have a video. It's not a video recording, it's a taping recording, so that we, by midnight after a forum is done, our recording of the event is posted on the League of Women Voters of Greater Cleveland YouTube, and it's then available to people right away. We do allow people to submit questions by email to the League chapter email address before the event happens. And that's where a lot of questions come from that we have even before the audience is formed. So even if someone can't attend the forum, they could submit a question ahead of time, and they could also watch it that very night. We always have league members who can help with voter registration, and we always have league members. There's always a membership person on the board, and we always have a membership person. So as you can see, that fills out the whole forum. And that ends this part of the screen share. Do you have questions at this point? Quiet. We've answered everything.
I think we're very thorough.
We're very thorough, right? Very thorough. We're going to go on now and talk about the voter guide and publicity for this event.
Excuse
Okay.
me, I have a quick question. Will you assign the volunteers what our role will be in the context of the forum, what to do, who's doing what? Or do
We usually we ask, what would you like to do? And then if you say, I'll do anything, we assign you. And there's always more than one person doing different
Okay.
roles. So if
Right.
you ever want someone, the point of the forum too for us as staffing and as volunteers is to meet other people and get to know other league members. So you're always doing something with someone else.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, especially even the candidate table. You are an ushers, you're always with a couple of other league people.
Okay.
And we have buttons. We have
Of
really
course.
big buttons for people who are volunteers, okay? And you get to keep it.
Thank you.
Janice asked a question before. Some of you
Right.
signed up ahead of time. And yes, we'll let you know what you were signed up for.
Yeah.
Probably.
We
But,
do
you know-
have a list of who had signed up for what. I could run through it, or better yet, we can just send it out. People did put down dates they thought they were available. Just generally, but again, if you have something you want to do, or something you want to learn, or something you absolutely would hate to do or can't do, like be a question runner. If you can't stand on your feet long enough, we don't expect you to do that.
Was the time when, my back was hurting me, I did the candidate sign in. And then I didn't have to worry about walking back and forth. So do you want to get you want me to get a flyer up for you, or you want to put us back to the pictures, the picture of us, Blanche?
You could throw the flyer up for a minute and then go back to the group. Sure. I'm supposed to be talking about publicity. So what is publicity? Oh, hi there.
Don't worry, I'll get it in a second. I'll put it in a second.
This is nice. I'm sure you've all seen, almost all of you, except the brand new people, have seen our flyers. We use the same one and we cannibalize it and change the details. And what you're seeing on this particular one is that we have partners, which we did not mention. And their logos go up too. So the library and Future Heights are almost always our partners. And of course, we put our Vote 411 on because we want everybody to go check that out and see what's on their ballot and what we have to teach them, to share with them about who's running and what the issues are. So what kinds of publicity do we do? This, for example, is a flyer. I don't know if you can scroll it up, Betsy, so they can see the whole thing. Oh, by the way, we will not be live streaming anymore. We're out of the main crisis of COVID, and it was excruciatingly difficult. And we have all determined we're not doing that anymore. People can see it, as Betsy said, often by the next morning. No more live streams. But we will continue to take the questions by email. So what kinds of publicity do? We do flyers. We do social media. The League of Women Voters of Greater Cleveland now has a website with a suite of services called Club Express. Don't ask, because I don't know. That connects us into all kinds of social media where people might find us. We share this through our co-sponsors. We contact the traditional press, like the Sun Press, the Heights Observer, other publications. We've recently realized we haven't been reaching out to the Jewish News. We will do that. Hopefully there are Black publications that we can tap into. We need to do some research. Since the Heights Observer partners with us in publishing our voters guide, we've already started working with them as of last week about how that's going to run. And we are deeply interested in people who want to learn how to work on voters guides. What's a voters guide? There is lots of information in the toolkit about how you make them, what kinds of questions are good and not good to ask. This is all written material that we obtain ahead of time from candidates, way ahead of time, actually. And there's a bit of a scramble from the time that the, thank you, that's great, that the petitions are validated to the time we have to get the voters guide into be published by the Heights Observer. They share the cost with us, which is nice, and it's also inserted in every copy of the October Heights Observer, which is available all through our two communities. This is unique. Not all communities have this, and it's terrific that we have that available. What other kinds of publicity are there? I'm going to read again. The website, the social media, certainly Vote 411. What goes into our voters guide comes directly out of Vote 411, which is a package that the league bought years ago for publishing both electronically and in hard copy, exactly what we get from the candidates, and that's verbatim. If their grammar is poor, we don't correct it. If their facts are wrong, they're presenting wrong facts, that's on them. It was mentioned to us that we could put an ad in the Heights Observer, which they would sort of sponsor as a house ad so that we can get more people. We can put that in I think September, so that more I think it's the September one, so that more people will be aware of these forums. There are online calendars through cities and the school board. We make sure everybody who does the publicity at the cities and the school boards has the information, including sorry, I just lost including what? And including the people on councils and school board who may have their own newsletters that they will let people know. There will be this forum, or I'm going to appear at this forum, or we're looking at these issues. Please learn about them and vote. The flyers are something we depend on everyone to do. We will send it out to our entire membership and say, print these and take these where you go, to your coffee shop, to your dry cleaner, to your church, to your synagogue, to your mosque. There are bulletin boards in senior centers. The libraries put them up. A lot of the merchants around town will do this. It takes shoe leather, but anywhere you go for lunch, see if they will let you post notice of the forums that are pertinent to that town. And of course, the senior center and rec centers and so forth. So that's publicity.
Okay, we also have Facebook.
Oh, yes.
And that yodel that University Heights uses, when we have something to post, I post it up there. So has anybody used yodel or gone to that? No. Okay. It's an interesting little thing, but it's primarily University Heights events. But Facebook we do have, and that's something if you use Facebook to share, so that if you share what we have.
And probably we should put it up on Nextdoor.
Oh,
that can,
do we have to?
you know, well, you just put it, we will put it up and the trolls will come out, and that's the way it is. Jill is not here. She knows the names and addresses of the trolls. Anyway, that's about all I think I need to say about publicity. It's deeply important. Some forums are heavily attended and we end up trying to set up extra chairs. Some are very lightly attended. I have my fingers crossed that there will be enough candidates for University Heights. At this point, it doesn't look like it, but it's also 7 weeks till their petition deadline. So
We have a few questions so far, and we're at 7:36, so we worried we would talk too long. Okay, so we're done. We're
And
done. That's the good news. We're done with our talking, so we can take questions. One question from Kathy Petrie: will the forum be recorded and subsequently available on YouTube? Yes, it gets posted on that YouTube site, usually by midnight, the night of the forum, and then it's available for everyone.
And we get hits. If you go to the addendum, Betsy and I added up all the hits for all those forums we did 2 years ago, and there were lots of them because there were mayoral primaries in both cities, as well as council elections, mayoral elections, school board elections. It was thousands of hits. People really value it. People who never even knew about us, who are searching for information, find these things. And if they don't watch them, they at least look for a minute, and that's all good.
We have another question from Barbara. What is League of Women doing re the August issue? And the plan for advertising through the Heights Observer is in August. Yeah, in August, we will have a little news article, similar to what we did last year, where we talk about the fact that we have 3 or 4 forums, where they are, the dates, that kind of stuff. And then there will be an ad in the September issue of the forum, of the Heights Observer.
Which
And the ad will be like a half-page kind of ad, sort of looking like our flyer, but hopefully better because they'll have a designer working on it. And then in the October issue will be the voter's guide. And in fact, I know Barbara you're interested in working on the voter's guide. We've got 2 things going on. One is that, if there are these issues for the amendments to the charter for University Heights, we're going to want to have like a plain speak write-up of that. We'll have to figure that out. And then also the Heights Observer would like us to work as soon as we can on the front page, where we usually have voter information, the boilerplate of how you register to vote and where you vote. So they're eager to start working, right? As soon as we can start working.
Right, and of course, Marcia Goldberg is the person at Greater Cleveland who coordinates all the Vote 411, and apparently that software gets things in shape so it can just be transferred to the Heights Observer for printing. We're going to learn more about that real soon. We are very interested in anybody who wants to help with the voter's guide. It's a big job, but
And if anyone has, go ahead.
use it both electronically and in hard copy. And when it comes out, we get a pile of extras and we take them around to places where people who prefer to hold a newspaper in their hand may be picking them up, like the senior center and the coffee shops and the grocery stores that have such things available.
Kathy and Barbara, you worked on voter guides the year before last. Do you want to say anything to share with the group?
I'm having some technical difficulties. You can hear me now. I think, you all have a lot of experience and you've been through it before. I would say it sounds as though maybe conveying our text to Heights Observer, or rather the voter guide text to Heights Observer, is going to go more smoothly than it did in the past, that they have a better system for that, because that was the one thing that was kind of time consuming, is that whoever was doing the printing for the Heights Observer really didn't do much in the way of proofreading. And there were many style and spelling errors that we then had to find and correct.
Of course, we don't correct the candidates' words at all. You're talking about other parts of the.
I'm talking about the whole thing. The whole thing.
I think Betsy and Rose really were the saviors of this last time, but just it's one thing to have the content, and then it's a whole other thing to be able to convey it for a publication. And so, that part was very difficult. I think you guys can speak to that. I think in terms of as Blanche said, the candidates' answers are their answers.
Right.
But there obviously was content to be generated on issues, and content to be generated as to the questions given to the candidates. So it's a big project. I mean, it was very interesting and satisfying project to work on from my perspective, but it is a big project when you put all the parts together.
Mm-hmm. I thought we had a fairly large number of people that were involved in drafting questions, and then we sort of voted, as I recall, on the questions, and only included the ones that got the most votes. And I think that was a good process, to be welcoming of people to submit their ideas for questions, and then sort of open in discussing them and then winnowing them out through sort of a voting procedure.
You're talking about the questions that we ask the candidates to answer.
Right.
Who generates some of those questions?
Mhm.
We usually started with the observers of each body, but certainly opened up to the whole membership because everybody's
Yeah.
thinking about school board or their city or whatever. And we really can start on that pretty soon. So I think
Yes.
we will probably send an ask to the whole chapter about questions. Yeah, it's lengthy. If we're gonna have this ready by the 10th of September to go to press, which sounds very soon, it is very
It
soon.
is.
Because of the long sort of event horizon on their publishing. I think it was that I just mislaid those dates.
July 10th, if we want to get anything in the August Observer,
Got it. Mhm.
we have to have it to them by July 10th. For
Oh,
the
it's
September, for the
That's really
September
soon.
paper, yes. For September paper, we have to have it to them
There it is.
by August 1st. And for the October voter guide and everything, by September 1st. So it's,
Those aren't the dates she just sent us.
oh, did she? That's right. She just sent
July 10th
something.
for the article for the August issue, August 14th for an article or an ad for the September issue, and September 11th for the voter's guide itself.
Okay. She did just send an email out.
Yep.
I didn't.
That's okay. That was just yesterday.
Yes.
So is there
Yes.
anyone,
A lot of emails.
Yes.
is there
but-
any-
Rose is packing to leave town in the morning.
is there anyone who's done one of those roles we talked about, staffing a forum, that could describe it or say how fun it was for someone else who might not have done it? Not to sway you.
Kathy Flora, you were saying that Wednesdays are terrible for you, but how much you love doing it. Could you speak that?
Well, I like hearing the forums and to be right there. And I think the first couple ones I did, I was a runner. And I just thought that was fun. You get to meet people and talk to people and you get to listen to the forums. I thought it was wonderful. And then COVID came and I was a timer and I was really nervous, but I really enjoyed it. Part of it is just getting to meet people and hearing the forums right there. I thought it was wonderful. So
Mhm.
I would say I think it's one of the rare opportunities to really see the candidates because you otherwise, where do you get any, one-on-one information from them? It's
Yeah.
probably the only real vehicle in town.
And they're grateful to be here with us. So it's when you're talking to them, there's a give and take, which you don't get in all the other venues. I'm sorry, did I interrupt somebody?
I was just gonna say, it's different hearing them in person rather than just reading what they write for, like, Vote 411 or whatever they write in a newspaper, because you just get a different feel for them, and you also get a feel for how they respond to other candidates. So you see them interacting, and it's nice. I feel like I
Mhm.
felt like I was really part of something. It was good. It was good to have that feeling.
Okay, I submitted a question going back to the issue of the voter's guide. I listened to a podcast today where this naturopathic copywriter was talking about the benefits of Chat GPT in developing narrative for all manner of media, and that how much
I
time
would
it can save.
say that it's way too late for any new technology for this year.
We can't,
Way too late.
all right.
For any new technology for this year, there's technology in Vote 411, which is some kind of a computer program that I'm going to learn more about. And there is technology that the Heights Observer uses for their publishing. And I would say if technology is new technology is gonna come in, it would need to be either for the Greater Cleveland League or the Ohio League to look into that. I think for our, and that's not just because I'm elderly and technology phobic. I think the beginning of July is way too late to start to bring in any new technology to a process that really has to be done in less than 3 months.
And in collaboration.
And September 11th is the end. And nobody knows this technology. It's an interesting idea for the future that might be passed along to greater.
Up the flagpole?
I don't think it's something that anyone on the chapter level would want to take on. But
It's-
interesting question. Absolutely not against it, just.
Timing is everything, but 24 is not that far away either. So if it's a matter of budget considerations or getting upper management at the state level or the Greater Cleveland level.
And next year is the state level elections, so it's an interesting thing to bring up. Probably something that should have gone in the charge to the new state board at state conference. So this probably is something you should think about for another year.
Okay,
Yeah, anything like that would, just the way the league works, would need to go into at the end of a conference, there's a charge to the board. These are things we think you should think about this year. So it's even too late for next year, probably. Especially with what state is dealing with right now with gerrymandering for districts and all that crap.
Oh, there was a question with Chat GPT. It's one of those artificial intelligence things. There was an article in a newspaper that someone said, put together a PowerPoint for me on the Electoral College, and it can do it. It can put something.
it's a huge time saver, so it might be worth investment in the long term.
Well, it's something that's interesting. And definitely we need the proofreaders afterwards to make sure that's the thing about anything that's coming off of that. It's what you feed into it and then how you check it when it comes out. Yeah, so we've got that. Good idea. That's for the future.
So do we have other questions? Have you started to think about what you would like to be doing? Do you have a sense for that? You can email us or you can put it in chat box now.
Betsy, as long as we have a couple minutes, I do have the list that you compiled from what people signed up for.
Go over that, yeah.
And let me just, I can do it in 60 seconds. For the September 13th Board of Education, the people who already said they were interested, Betsy's the lead planner, by the way, were Carol Spacky, Ave Copeland, Cassie Tallarico, potentially. Thank you, Cassie. Janice Foster and Kathy Petrie. For the September 20th Cleveland Heights City Council, Rose Fairman is the lead planner. The people who said they were interested were Barbara Hawley, Jill Tatum, Janine Gurry, Kathy Flora maybe can come later, Ave Copeland and Kathy Petrie. And of course, the three of us will be at all of them. For the September 27th UH City Council one, I'm the lead planner. And the names I have here are Elizabeth Zale, Kathy Flora later on, Ave Copeland and Tana Swan. And for the University Heights issue forum, which we're all going to be working on. Or if there's no University Heights City one, I guess I'll move into that role. The people who said they were interested were Elizabeth Zale, Kathy Flora, Ave Copeland, and Janice. So,
Foster?
but that's not, a final list. We just started soliciting your interest early, and it doesn't mean there isn't room for everyone on each night. You saw that list of volunteer positions. It is long.
We had a question, we will send out those dates. Well, actually, what I'll do is I'll send out to everyone who's here tonight, whatever I screen shared at this meeting. We'll send that out to all of you. So then you'll have the dates for all of them. And Janice says she wants to be a runner.
Yeah,
It is a fun role. It is a fun
Yes.
role.
Really fun.
yeah, you watch the room, people hold up their hands wanting a card, or they hold up their card wanting you to pick it up. And you better be there, or they get very irritable. These voters who manage to go out and put their butts in our seats are very involved people. Which
You'll
is
get your steps in.
terrific, yes.
Good.
I just want to make a comment. I appreciate so much that you guys are doing this because I've been a runner twice. But this gives a much bigger picture by hearing, you know, what it all takes to put it all together. So I really appreciate this.
I think we started thinking in February,
Wow.
once I was tapering my pain medicine. I had nothing better to do and started to formulate
Your head was clear.
and bug. I wouldn't say it was clear, but yeah. You know, that's
You have to find dates, I mean, Blanche found dates that didn't conflict with any Jewish holidays, which is important in Cleveland Heights and University Heights.
or Muslim holiday.
And then it took us several months to get the okay to use the rec center. You know, so
Yeah.
once you get the dates and the venue, then you kind of like wait until the candidates form. Then you send them out, you get the candidates settled, and then you get your volunteers settled. And then you do it, and then you do your thank yous. It's sort of like goes in stages. So we can use help with all those things. And there's form letters. I know Rose wasn't able to, I'm sorry, Rose, that you weren't able to, I didn't put a letter up there for you. But the letter is a very standard letter. You can tailor it to the event. But it's you know, it goes out on letterhead and with the league logo. And so you don't have to create too much, but you do have to pay attention to detail. And the one thing we didn't mention is that if a candidate cannot come, last one we did, we had several candidates who were having grandchildren born at about the same time. You know, what are the odds? And they couldn't guarantee that they could be there. They can send a written statement that can take, get me if I'm wrong on this, about a 3-minute long written statement, which
Right.
is read by the moderator. So they cannot send a substitute, but they will send a statement and the moderator reads their statement before. So that the idea is really fairness and equal opportunity to all of the candidates. When the pandemic hit, we were initially going to do Zoom forums. And then we ultimately decided to do kind of a hybrid where the candidates were there in person, but there was no audience. And the idea for that was the very same reason we see here, is that people's computers are different and their connectivity is different. And so we don't want a candidate to look bad just because there's some, you know, big truck in front of their house making a lot of noise. See, so it was really to keep it equal, fair, nonpartisan.
Good.
Any other questions before we are at our end? And I'm amazed that we are doing well.
And the other thing I would add is that sometimes candidates are not very good about getting their material into vote 411. And we always need people to help us chase them.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
That
And
if it is not in by a deadline, it says there's a little statement, it's very boilerplate that says something like candidate did not respond. And a lot of people in our communities will go, oh, Johnny Jones didn't respond, not voting for Johnny. Don't diss the League of Women Voters, people. Judith,
No, there's a question, will be a forum prior to the August election? No, that's a state issue. And this was confusing to me, Judith, when I first joined. Blanche, maybe you can explain which of the forums that the local chapter is responsible for.
well, I'll just say that for the August election, LWV Ohio has come out against and is campaigning no, and there's your forum. There are cards that are circulated. Kathy loves my sense of humor and I love her for it. Uh, there are cards that are circulating from the league and from many other organizations explaining exactly how anti-democratic issue one is.
Yes.
Please tell everybody, we do have a position and we may take a position and say, I'm a member of the League of Women Voters and the League of Women Voters is against this issue. If it were something different, it wouldn't be us doing it anyway. Our chapter does the forums that are for our local elections on the odd years. And on the even years, we try to get together with other chapters that are within our congressional districts and our Ohio legislative districts to do forums. We did the flyer that Betsy put up was actually from last year's Ohio legislative races, and it was a good forum. If you were
Yeah, we had staffing from Shaker Heights there too.
right, exactly. When it's US candidates, we don't tend to have the forums. But for state candidates, we might, and for county candidates, I think next year we will be electing county reps. And if there is any opposition to our rep, we will have a forum if anybody runs against her. County reps sometimes are sort of real secure.
Sometimes for example, Rose had put together a forum for our chapter on an issue, not an issue, an educational forum on COVID in schools. Many of you probably were there for that. That was also recorded, and that's online as well.
What's nice about the website, which is Club Express, is that the calendar pops up. If you have to enter your membership, they're not very open if you don't click on member and put in your code. But it gives you the calendar for, the greater Cleveland. When you click on Cleveland Heights, University Heights, it gives you the calendar for us. And that's where our videos are. Our videos for the Education Forum and for the other are on the Club Express. So it's definitely something to check out regularly. And you get the news from the different chapters when you open it up.
That where the dates and places and times of all these forums will appear soon.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It is
I think we did it.
What's going to happen next is you can bet you'll get an email from either me or Rose or Blanche, depending on what forum you were interested in. And we will start to firm up who's going to do what. Plus, we will be looking for other people to help out. We will be forming a voters guide committee, and you will be probably asked for that. You may be asked for that, or you may let us know you'd like to work on that. And anything else that you want us to do after this meeting from anyone?
I won't be sending out emails till Monday.
Because, okay.
Yeah, so I'll be out of town. Mhm.
And
So I'm going to stop recording soon. Is there any other last comment, question?
thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you.
That came, and this is now recorded for posterity. So we really appreciate your interest. One of the things Betsy and I wrote 2 years ago was that we did not form a committee, and we were very sorry that we did not. So we are now correcting. What did the philosopher say? Good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment. And I subscribe to that a little too strongly in my life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Rose and Blanche,
you.
stay on board. We'll do a little debriefing and organizing ourselves. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for doing it.
Thank you, Cassie. Thank
Good
you,
night.
Cassie, for the applause.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Yes, no, this was great. Thanks.
Thanks.
Mhm.